Alrighty, so I'm the HR advisor here at Baker Tilly Staples Rodway, and I'll tell you a little bit about our firm and the different service lines we have and opportunities that we have for grads and interns at Baker Tilly, and also finish with some tips on your application and the recruitment process in general. Cool. So a little bit about us. We have 7 firms nationally in Auckland, Christchurch, Hamilton, Hawke's Bay, Taranaki, Tauranga and Wellington. So Auckland is our largest firm, and that's closely followed by Taranaki. And yeah, we're constantly growing, and we're actually looking for grads in our offices nationally and grads and interns in our Auckland office. So when you come to Baker Tilly, you're not just coming to be part of our national network, but you're also becoming part of the Baker Tilly International network, which comprises of almost 800 offices in 145 territories around the world. So that's a really, really awesome network to take advantage of and really grow your own network, as well as help open doors for you around the world. And yeah, we offer up potential opportunities for secondments as well. And yeah, it's just a really, really great network to take advantage of in your career. We've got 3 service lines, 3 key service lines, so quite similar to the other accounting firms. So we have business advisory services. So this service line works with a really broad range of New Zealand and overseas businesses, including some of our most successful companies. And as a graduate, you'd have the opportunity to work really closely alongside these companies and be mentored by team members who have achieved some outstanding accomplishments through their careers. And some of the key things that you'd be doing are understanding the client's businesses and the accounts functions of their business, drafting financial reports, and preparing work papers and using key software like Xero, APS, and Excel. So another key service line of ours is audit, which requires a really deep understanding of our clients' businesses and their goals and the market in which they operate as well. So we've got a really diverse client base, and we like to use a paperless audit approach, be a bit more environmentally friendly. And we've got some really sophisticated evaluation and analytical tools to help us identify risks and opportunities that our clients are facing. So if you're interested in audit, then you'd be involved with understanding and identifying risks, preparing audit work papers, and developing an understanding of some key accounting and auditing standards, and also developing that knowledge of the key audit software and systems. Cool. And so our third service line is tax. So this is a really interesting area to work in. It's constantly changing, and business owners really appreciate the importance of controlling costs and minimizing tax. And so if you're interested in this area, then this is really a great team to work in. Our firm is actually really, they've got a lot of well-known tax specialists, and our reputation can actually be traced back to our publication of the Staples Tax Guide, which was originally written by our founder, Charlie Staples. So some of you may have heard of that as well. So it can be really difficult choosing which service line you actually might be interested in. So I've got a little diagram here which could help you decide if you're struggling. So generally would be assisting you to get your CA or your CPA qualification. So would be looking for those papers for you to have done during university. And then if you really enjoy thinking strategically and interpreting legislation and research and advising clients, then you might be quite interested in working in the area of tax. If you've got really strong numerical and analytical skills and you like to work with a broad range of companies and you want to learn more about the accounts functions of their businesses, then maybe business advisory is for you. And if you've got a really good eye for detail and also like to look at the bigger picture and have really, really good communication skills and are growing your knowledge of how businesses run, then potentially audit could be the service line for you. So yeah, as a grad or an intern, you're part of a really valued team member, and you're working part of a really close-knit team, and you're getting to work with some really big clients like Burger Fuel, Turner's, Becker and Southern Pastures, to name a few. So some really good experience there for you. So moving on to the second part of this presentation, what can you expect in your first 3 years if you do come on board with Baker Tilly? So we offer you a 3-year graduate program, and they're designed to really help you obtain your CA or CPA qualification. And yeah, if you've got a business or a law qualification, then definitely also apply. In terms of the pathway, so in your first year, you're meeting with lots of the other graduates. You've got your induction in your first couple of weeks where you get to meet all of the graduates nationally. You get to make lots of friends and attend soft skills trainings and technical trainings. And in your second year, you're building on those skills. So you've got multiple technical training sessions to attend and really grow your knowledge. And you've also been given a mentor. So you'll have a mentor and a buddy to help you through those years and really provide you with some support through your studies. And saying that, all of the other grads are also super supportive. So there's always someone to talk to and ask questions. And also a lot of our directors started off as graduates here at Baker Tilly. So there's always somebody to talk to and who understands what you're going through. So definitely lots of support with your work and with your studies towards your qualification. In your third year, there's lots of opportunities to really advance your career and maybe even go on some local or international secondments. And there's opportunities to further specialize your skill set. So how do you apply for a role at Baker Tilly? It's really as easy as 1, 2, 3. So complete your application. So you need to submit your CV, cover letter online, and there's also a short questionnaire for you to fill out. If you're successful, then you'll be sent some psychometric assessments to complete, which are verbal, numerical, logical, and some personality questions. And then finally, you'll be invited back for an interview, which are currently all being held online at the moment while we're working from home. And you'll get to meet some people in our firm and yeah, chat further about the role or the service line that you're interested in. So when you're putting together your CV, I'd recommend keeping it fairly concise. So no longer than 1 to 2 pages maximum. And remember to include some key details like your work experience and your education, maybe a brief statement about yourself and your skills and your hobbies. And always remember to make sure you proofread, because this is the first glimpse we're getting to see of you. So you really want to make a good impression. And some tips that were mentioned earlier are even getting your parents or somebody that you know to have a look over and just make sure you've included everything that you want to and that it sounds really good. before you send it across to us. So yeah, get it checked, make sure everything's in chronological order, and away you go. So we do ask for a cover letter, and this doesn't need to be too long. It just helps us to get a better sense of who you are and your writing style, and even just your general communication skills. So do some research about the firm and the company you're applying to, and tell us, why you're really interested in this role, and yeah, what skills you have, and tell us a bit about yourself as a person as well, because we're really wanting to know the whole you. Yeah, and also I wouldn't recycle too many generic sentences, because it's, of course, you're applying to lots of firms around the country, but to make it stand out, you don't want it to sound too generic, and you want it to sound a little bit more personalized. So yeah, I definitely recommend not repeating too many generic sentences in the cover letter. We also ask for an academic transcript. So we will be looking at your grades overall, but remember that grades are not everything. Your application is viewed as a whole. So if you do have some lower grades in there, definitely highlight if there's a reason for any of these, but also at the same time, just remember that your application is being viewed in the whole. So you don't need straight A's to apply for a role with us. And when you're submitting your application, you'll also have a short questionnaire to fill out. So that will ask you a few things like what you studied, when you intend or when you're expecting to graduate, your eligibility to work in New Zealand, and just those generic questions. And we've also got a couple of questions in there that ask you a little bit more about yourself, like what you like to do outside of university, and examples of goals or tasks that might have presented obstacles to you. So that's really interesting for us to read and actually get a better picture of you, and get to know the whole you from your application before we can actually meet with you in person. So as I mentioned before, if you're successful, then we will send you through some psychometric assessments to do. So you can always find some practice tests online to do, and find a quiet place where you can practice. Remember to read the instructions, and there may be a time limit, so don't waste too much time on difficult questions. If you're really struggling, I would recommend moving on and then coming back to those questions if you have time at the end. And yeah, just do your best. There'll be a numerical, verbal, and logical part to the first part of the assessment, and then the second part is about some personality questions. And yeah, the assessment is viewed as a whole, and would probably get back to you within a couple of days of you completing, just to give you some feedback and let you know how you got on. So you've made it through the assessments and you've been invited back for an interview. So my key advice for this would definitely be to research the firm before you attend the interview, and also the people that you're interviewing with. So it never hurts to do a quick LinkedIn search, just to get to know a bit about the people that you're meeting, and come up with some answers to potential questions you might be asked. You might be asked, we like to keep our interviews quite conversational, so remember, they're not designed to scare you. We really just want to get to know you, and so we like to try and keep them as relaxed as possible. So some things that we might ask you are, what are some things you really enjoyed in your last job and why? If you've ever had a time where you've needed to multitask or handle multiple priorities, any development areas that you've identified with yourself. And also at the end of the interview, I'd always recommend coming up with some really good questions to ask back to the people that you're interviewing with. So that's always a really good way to finish and impress the people that you're interviewing with, and also show that you're really interested in the firm and in the role. So that's enough of me talking. Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask?
Hey, Bhavika, can you see the Q&A tab?
Yes, I can. Cool. So there's a few questions that have been asked throughout the session. Cool. So how long do we take to send out our assessment links after the application is received? So we are dealing with quite a few applications at the moment, but generally you should hear from us within about a week, or I'd say even a couple of days. But if you haven't heard from us straight away, don't be put off. As I said, we're just dealing with a lot of applications at the moment. Someone has asked about a GPA. Does having a lower GPA mean straight rejection and put applications at a disadvantage? So like I said before, we do look at applications as a whole, and while grades are one part of your application, they definitely aren't the full picture, and so we'd be looking at other things too, like your extracurricular activities or even part-time jobs that you've done, that show us a little bit more about your personality, some of your hobbies. So yeah, while I mean GPA is definitely important, we're looking at your application as a whole. How important is age to your company? Lots of people are onto their second careers, and although unspoken, it seems ageism is a thing. So I would say definitely not. We consider all applications, and age is not something that would be a deterrent in any way. Again, it's looking at your experience, your academic transcript, and yeah, your application as a whole. So no, age would not be a factor. Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh.
Awesome.
Looks like I've used up all my time. Thanks,
Yes.
Taylor.
No, well done with the old time. Right, being on 3:40. Thanks, Bhavika. That was awesome. Thanks for sharing.